I don't know what is happening, but in the last couple years, we have seen NHL players and prospects getting straight up banned or perhaps blacklisted. Even this past week, we would see Nashville's 2021 first round pick, Zachary Leroux, get suspended indefinitely for getting into a physical altercation with a fan. This was his 9th suspension in the past 4 years. And before anyone comments, well, this is just woke culture. I agree, there's an argument that woke culture may take certain situations too far, but as for hockey player incidents, these situations are more about players making absurdly dumb decisions. So, when you get blacklisted from the best league in the world, where do you go? Swiss team ready to ditch Jake Virtanen after fracas with teammate. The former Vancouver Canuck proved to be unpopular with his Visp teammates. Okay, what did he do? Jake Virtanen was benched during a game where they were down 5-1. And following that game, he would get into a physical altercation with his own teammate. But it doesn't stop there. The teammate Virtanen fought was Daniel Eggman. And following this altercation, Virtanen's own teammates would go straight to management and tell them it's either him or us. A straight up ultimatum. And to give you some perspective, leading up to this incident, Virtanen was arguably their best offensive player. And to add another layer, EHC Visp is about to start playoffs. If your own team is giving management an ultimatum to kick you off the team, even though you're a top player, you must be a toxic asshole. Because let's not forget, Jake Virtanen was drafted 6th overall in 2014. The Vancouver Canucks chose this guy over William Nylander, Nick Ehlers, Dylan Larkin, and I can keep going. Alex Tuck, David freaking Pasternak. Just another item to add to the Canucks' long list of disappointment. And during Virtanen's time with the Canucks, he would be reported as someone who wasn't committed to the game. He was lazy. In 2016, Virtanen would show up to camp 20 pounds overweight and out of shape. In fact, it was so bad in 2019 that Jake Virtanen would be demoted in camp, where he was now practicing with ECHL guys and not with his own team. In 2020, Virtanen would get his shit together as he would break out with an 18-goal, 36-point season, which to be honest was very respectable given he played in a bottom 6 role, which would earn him a 2-year, $5.1 million contract. However, in the following offseason, Jake Virtanen would reportedly spend his summer partying. Keep in mind, this was during the peak of the pandemic. He was photographed at a club wearing a hat that said #WorstCrewEver, which was infamously discovered from the Brendan Leipzig message leak. Oh, the irony. And what do you know? That season, Jake Virtanen would fall off a cliff with 5 points in 38 games. And then the news would break. Jake Virtanen would be accused of essay, where the Canucks would then instantly terminate his contract. And this is where things get a bit tricky. Virtanen would be found not guilty. On the surface level, that's a great thing, but in the same breath, this also doesn't mean he's not guilty, as these situations are very convoluted. So I'm not saying he's guilty or not guilty, we don't know, but instead, let's look at the facts. Jake Virtanen throughout his entire NHL career was extremely inconsistent. He wasn't good defensively and had a horrible work ethic. So with that being said, regardless of his trial, what NHL team would want a player like Virtanen? So if that's the case, why would Jake Virtanen, who is already a fringe NHL player on the verge of being sent to the minors, put himself in a position where his career could be gone at the snap of a finger? Jake Virtanen, at best, is an unreliable bottom 6 player. So maybe, just maybe, focus on your game. Maybe don't spend the summer partying if you're barely an NHL player. And after this incident, Virtanen would somehow get a professional tryout with the Oilers, which didn't work out, and he would be shipped to Russia, where he would play okay, 16 points in 36 games. Now the KHL is a lower scoring league, so it's fine. However, Russia being Russia would happen. But Virtanen was in luck, as he would luckily land a spot on EHC Visp, where you still make a great wage, playing professional hockey in one of the most beautiful places in the world. I actually worked with a guy who played professional Swiss hockey. He got a free apartment, a free car, on top of a very respectable salary. But as we know, Virtanen would blow it and decided to sacrifice his career to chuck fists at his own teammate. Beat Brendan Leipzig. Yeah, this guy. So what about him? Brendan Leipzig has hands down the most embarrassing getting banned story in NHL history, because after being drafted in the 3rd round, Leipzig would follow up his draft year by claiming the CHL scoring title. He was undersized, but clearly had immense scoring upside. And throughout the next several years, he would bounce around teams: Toronto, Vegas, Vancouver, LA, and finally, he would end up in Washington. Leipzig had a suitcase career. But hell, the man was living his dream, making lots of money, playing in the top hockey league in the world, until it all came crashing down. Because what if I were to tell you that Instagram messages single-handedly ended Leipzig's NHL career? Because in May 2020, Brendan Leipzig's group chat would be leaked on social media. And these messages were disgusting, as he would make comments about Tanner Pearson's wife right after they gave birth to their baby. In the picture, they were just holding the baby. And keep in mind, that was his teammate. This guy even went after Connor McDavid and his girlfriend. Like, seriously, man, McDavid? He would even send a picture of his own line mates on the Capitals. I repeat, his own line mates, and proceed to say horrible things. And as a result, Brendan Leipzig would be sent on waivers for the purpose of contract termination, where he would never see NHL ice again in his career. And for those of you who are arguing about privacy, this is not a privacy concern. In what world would someone who is living the dream, making millions of dollars playing hockey, think it's worth the risk to send horrible messages about Connor McDavid's girlfriend? Makes sense. Leipzig was apparently quote-unquote hacked. Yeah, okay. This could have easily been another guy's girlfriend who saw the chat, who was repulsed by the messages, and decided to full send Leipzig's career. And if you're like, well, the guy's just being a dick, whatever. What NHL player wants to play with a guy that trash talks them behind his back? Nobody would, especially when you're a fringe NHL player. In a scenario where 10 other guys are fighting for your job, Brendan Leipzig did not get cancelled. He cancelled his own career by proving he is a toxic teammate. And after getting blacklisted from the league, Leipzig would pack his bags and head to Russia, where surprisingly, he would produce 35 points in 46 games in 2022, including a near point per game playoff performance. And Leipzig may go on to have a great KHL career. In fact, it has been reported that he has a salary of $1 million US, which is even better when you consider that Russian hockey players are not taxed. So his $1 million salary is more like $2 million. But he also has to play in Russia, who at the moment are not looking so good. I can guarantee you, this man regrets the things he did. Because even though Leipzig managed to save his career in Russia, you can't say the same thing about his brother, Jeremy, as he was also a part of this group chat, as he had a scholarship playing for the University of Manitoba. And he would be cut from the team and have his scholarship revoked. Jack Rodwald, who is in the Panthers organization, would get cut from the minors, where he is now playing in China. Jackson Keane, who played for North Dakota, would be punished internally on his team, whatever that means, and is now in the ECHL. And honestly, this stuff pisses me off, because whether it is incidents like this or the Team Canada scandals, hockey players are getting a horrible rep as entitled, misogynistic pieces of garbage. And of course this exists, but aside from the horrible outliers, hockey players, past teammates, are some of the most salt-to-the-earth guys I've ever met. So if you're watching this video with hopes of making it one day, learn from these mistakes and be better. And before we end off this video, please go check out the most recent RTH video. I made it on the All-Star game and it was a banger. We had so much fun making that video. And as always, thanks for watching.